we have reached to the project phases and life cycle. As mentioned earlier, that project life cycle, what you can see now here on the slide, is a typical project life cycle. Most of the projects will have some kind of these phases. Okay, they might develop and they might split them into two. And for example, concept and design, for example. So they will split them. Or development will be design and development. So it depends on the organization or the project manager. How do they separate these? For example, implementation, they divide it into implementation and testing. Okay, so it's like this. But mainly, you always have two main parts: the project feasibility, where you look into the idea of the project, you look into how much it will cost you. You try to do some kind of like estimation, budgets, some kind of brainstorming of the task that you're going to do. Okay, and this is in some cases you might reach to a point that you don't want to do this project because it is not worth to spend your effort or money on that project. And then if things goes well, then you go to the second part, which is the project acquisition, where you start implementing the project, especially for software. You start developing the software, writing the codes, and completing it, testing and completing it, and then you close out the project, you roll out the system for production. So these are the main phases of a life cycle of a project. Now, within these phases, as you can see here, down here, you will have, for example, in the concept phase, we usually have something called the business case. Okay, this is basically you're trying to sell the idea of the project to your sponsor or to your top management in the organization. Okay, so this is one of the key deliverables of this phase. When you do your conceptualization of the project, we do a business case where you justify why we need this project or why this project is important to start. Also, at this stage, in terms of budget or cost, it's not clear for us at this stage. So there will be a preliminary cost estimation. The last one here. Okay. The last one here. This is the tasks or the work that you're going to do. Okay. So here we have second level or two levels of work breakdown structure. We will cover this inshallah later in other chapters. The scope of the project at the beginning, you know that you're going to do some tasks, but you are not sure what are the details. So this is like just one or two levels. We will explain this later. What does work breakdown structure means? Because it goes more than levels. In the development, you will see that there's a plan. This is very important. A plan. Then we have a budgetary cost. So now it is based on some maybe prices or fees that you already gather. So now budget is better understood, and the work will be more detailed. So now we know more about the details of the task that we are going to do. Okay, when you start implementation, things become more clearer. Okay, and then you start executing what you planned. So it is execution of the plan. When you start executing, this means that you're going to use the detailed task to execute. Okay, and here when you start working, doing things, assigning tasks to individuals, these called the work packages. So it is the smallest task that you can assign to a person in the project. Okay, then because now you are executing, you are actually spending, the cost will be definitive. So it is now sure, you know that this will cost us this much because now you paid it already. Yeah, خلاص. Or at least you have a quotation or something that you're going to pay. Okay, you decided to buy the server or register or buy a license for software or something like this. In the implementation, this is very important part also. Here is the performance reports. Now, because you are working, you want to ensure that what you plan for is executed properly. So how you do this? You have to see your performance. You have to monitor and see what's going on. Okay, what is the plan and what is the actual work? Okay, and you compare. Here you will get the performance. Okay, are you ahead of schedule or behind schedule? Are you spending more than the budget or less than the budget? Okay, all these will be shown here in your performance. Okay, then at the end of the project, you have to close the project. Okay, closing the project will mean that you're going to complete the work. Okay, and you need to get the customer acceptance for that work. Okay. One more thing is that at the end of any project, you need to document the experience. Okay, that's the lessons learned. What have you learned from this project? Okay, because we know that every project is a unique task or a unique work that you are doing. So from every project, you will have different experience, and you need to document this because this will help, especially in organizations that they have lots of projects. These lessons learned will help other project managers or the same project manager if he starts another project which is similar to that one. So you face a problem, how did you deal with it? What was the alternatives? And you start documenting the situations that you faced during the project life cycle. Okay. Now the life cycle, there are many modules out there. Okay, the most popular is the waterfall model, and you studied also in system analysis and design these models. If you remember the SDLC, the software life cycle, SDLC, software development life cycle. Okay, SDLC. So we have many of them. There is these, we call these the predictive models, and there is the other more sophisticated model, the cyclical and rapid models. The waterfall model, you can see that it is very straightforward, very sequential. On the right here, you will see the spiral model. This is another iteration, or this model depends on iteration. You start with analyzing or having a concept and analyzing it, then you design it, then you implement, test. You need more analysis to see where are the problems, how to improve. You go back, analyze, you redesign, then you implement, you test. Still you have, so it is continuous until you reach to the goal of the project. So this is called the spiral because it goes around like a spiral line in the project life cycle. And if you go back to the book, you will find other models also. Okay, there will be other models, but This is not our scope, and you need to know them, but we will not go further on them. What are the deliverables of each and all these things? We already covered this in the system analysis and design. Okay. Now, why we need phases? Why do we have phases in the project? Because if you divide the work into phases, then it will be easy for you to control the work. You know who's doing what, okay, and what are the resources required in each of the phase, and also you get deliverables. So you start getting outcome from each phase that you have done from. Okay, if you just start without any phase, you just start the project. The project is for 1 year. You start working for 1 year. You don't know what you are doing. Okay, everyone is working, but you don't know what's happening. Okay, who's doing this and who's doing that. So if you have phases, then you concentrate on these phases. You finish the first phase, okay? You know who's working, who's responsible on this phase. You know what are the resources required for this phase, and you receive or you get some kind of outcome from each phase. Now these outcomes, we call them deliverables. It's not necessarily a complete system, but maybe let's say the database structure or the interface, okay, the graphical interface design. These are also deliverables, or maybe sometimes it's a document, like in planning, project plan is a deliverable. It's a document, but it's a deliverable. And it's a very important deliverable that you need to finish in the early stage so that of the project, so that you can execute the project, because the plan is your guide for execution. Okay, and then this will be your base. We call it the baseline. This plan will be your base to see your progress. Am I progressing well or not? Okay, and one important thing is that we call this the phase exit or phase kill, okay, or killing point. This means that according to your plan, you have to finish this phase. So you need to kill that phase. You need to exit that phase. In some cases, you might exit and you are not, you didn't complete, but you have to exit and go to the next phase, because if you continue or wait until you finish this phase, you will delay other things in the other phases. Okay, so this is very important area. Now the IT projects are different than other projects. Earlier in chapter 1, we discussed projects in general, okay, and the diversity that we have in IT projects is very complex. We have complex tasks. Okay, you're developing a system, software. It's not easy to develop a software. In terms of size, we have in IT projects, we write thousands of codes. Okay, so the size is not small. Okay, maybe you just, if you look at it as just how many person are working, you will see the size is small. But when you look at how many codes are there, how many tables in the database, and other things related to the development, sometimes it is huge. Okay, even the area, the application area that you're working in, it's also diverse. And we come to this when we talk about the technology. Technology resources are different than other projects. If you are doing a mobile application project, then the technology that you are using, the resources that you need is specialized or specific. You cannot go for any other kind of technology. In the projects also, the IT projects, the people, team members, they come from different backgrounds. Okay, you have someone comes from the business side, the business analyst. Okay, you have a database developer. So the skills here is different. He studied in database development. The programmer, he studied languages. Okay, network administrator. Okay, he focused on the technical issues of the project, and so on. So the skills are different. So conflict is easily happen in these kinds of projects. Also, the technology that is used. IT projects use different technologies, very sophisticated. It's always changing. Okay, you for the database, you have different technology for maybe the servers that you are using, the developing environment, the platform, things. These are advancing and changing in a very fast pace, and so you need to cope with this rapid change. So all these factors make IT projects unique, and they need special attention in managing them. Some of the trends that also affect the project is globalization. Globalization, now organizations start to grow. Instead of selling their products or providing their services in one country, they start spreading into other countries. Now, when you go outside your region, then you start having some challenges. These challenges could be related to the culture, related to the language, and many other things that we will cover in a minute. Also, another thing is the outsourcing. Okay, outsourcing is something that organizations do to reduce the cost, mainly, and sometimes to acquire more skilled people. We also have the virtual teams. Virtual teams is something maybe emerged because we went to global operation. So now we can have a team who has different individuals coming from different countries, and they can work across the world with different times. So we sometimes call this the follow the sun development. It's like it never ends. Someone's working in the east, then he hands over his work into someone in the Middle East, then someone in the West, and like this. So this is also another challenge that projects will face. And the last point is the agile project management. This is a methodology that was specifically developed for software development, and it is a flexible, quick way of planning projects, getting the requirements and planning the project, and completing projects in very small pieces, very fast. And this is not part of this course, so we're not going to go further in this area. Going back to the globalization, there are, as I mentioned earlier, there are some challenges. Communication. You are going to communicate with new people, different culture, different language. Okay, so that's little challenging. Trust. If you are in your country, you know the laws, you know the system, how it works. Everything is fine, so you can trust your vendors, your customers. But when you go outside, you are not sure if the laws help you in getting your rights and protecting your business. You don't know this, so trust is a little bit here, also questioned. Common work practices. Also, when you move to another country, when you start another branch in another region of your in the world, the way that they work, the practices are different than the practices that you have in your country, and this will also have some kind of challenge or change that you have to change the way that you do things. The processes that you follow will be maybe need to be changed, and so on. Also the tools. You use tools in your country. If you go to another country, they don't have this tool, maybe because of some technical deficiencies. Like for example, now we are using the video conferencing, right? Now, because in Bahrain, mashallah, we have good network, especially in the university also, we have good bandwidth. So we can have these videos very easily online without any disruption until now. I don't know what will happen later, but this is according to my experience now, these 2 or 3 days. But in other countries, if the internet is slow, then this tool will not be effective, so people cannot use it. So you need to find some other tools or other technology to communicate. So the suggestions: now, employee greater project discipline, think global but act local, keep project momentum going, use newer tools and technology. So just replying to these points. I think if you go back to the book, you will find more explanation about this. But basically, what they are trying to say is that you need to adapt to these situations. Okay, your people has to be more dedicated to work. When you think, you don't think how you do things in your country, but you think how they are doing it there, and you can act from the way that you are acting in local areas. Keep your team motivated and try to use the appropriate technology. The virtual teams, we know that in the advantages of the technology, technology gives these advantages, which is the availability 24/7. So now your team will become more responsive, they will become more competitive because they are available all the time, they can work all the time, and they can respond to anything at any time. Lowering cost now, because you don't have workers coming to your office, you don't need to give them offices, you don't need to give them computers. Okay, so you're reducing the cost. Providing more expertise, this is good advantage and something good in virtual teams. Sometimes you need some experts, skilled people in certain area, but you don't have them in your country. That's not a problem. You can have them working from somewhere else, and you can communicate and hand over work through the internet or the available collaborative technologies. Increasing the work or life balance. Okay, and this is subjective. It's like if you work from home, then this will be something good because you can work, you can finish your work and you can also do your whatever personal stuff that you are doing. If you are traveling, you are going to another country, still you can do your work while you are at your trip. Also, what we are doing now is an example. Now, you as students, you are at home, but you are doing your work, you are studying, right? So there's a balance. We are trying to give you healthy environment. So we don't want you to come to university and catch any disease or something. So we want you to stay at home, but you can do your work, and that's because of this virtual technology that we are using. But the disadvantages here is that the members that work in virtual teams, they usually they are isolated, so they don't know exactly what's going on. Okay, and I can see this here when I started these online sessions. Many students, they don't know what's going on. Where is this? Where can we find this? How do we do this? How do so yeah, if you are not with the group in one physical place, you don't see everything. You don't get all the information. Okay, and this is one of the problems in virtual teams. But still, you can avoid these by trying to have uh, more documents, more communication, explaining things. These will help also. Increasing the potential for communication problems. So, sometimes the virtual teams make it difficult to communicate. Okay, maybe the technology is not that good. It's not dependable. This is step number 4. Point number 4. Okay, so sometimes it makes problem in communication, and sometimes it's difficult to express yourself using, for example, an email or some other kind of messaging system. Reducing the ability for team members to network and transfer information informally. Yeah, now when you have a virtual team, you usually stick to something formal communication. So there's no these kind of informal the chats that we get in between work or in the corridor or near the water cooler. Okay, these informal information will increase the trust of the members. It will ignite some of the good ideas or innovative way of doing things. Okay, so these are there. Okay, you can also go back to the book and you will find more about this area. Now, this is the Scrum framework. It is one of the agile methodologies. As I mentioned earlier, we are not going to cover this. This will be only just for your information. This will be covered in ITIS265. Okay, later in another course. But if you just want to have an idea, this in this framework, the idea is very simple. You have set of features of the system that you want, okay, and you start choosing the most important, or you prioritize them, you order them based on the most important feature, most important task that you want to do. Okay, so you take these two most important, you start working on them in something called a sprint. Okay, you plan for this sprint, then you do the sprint, you start working 24 hours, just you continually work on that, only these two tasks, you finish them, and then you ship them for testing and reviewing. If they are fine, then you go back and you take two more and you start doing the same thing. If they are not, they go back into the sprint, and then you complete or improve them, and then send them again for shipment. And it's like this until you finish all these features. Okay, so this is basically what's talking about. But later, we go further in the artifacts and the ceremonies of these. So this ends this chapter. Okay, so now you are able to understand projects from a system perspective. You know what are the structures that are available for organizations to manage their projects. You know the perspectives of the projects, of organizing projects, the structural, human, political, and symbolic. We also understand now what is project life cycle and what are the phases in these life cycles. And we covered some of the factors and elements that affect the IT projects. Okay, so this concludes this chapter.